Go.
It,
So before we start our presentation, let's bow our heads for the opening prayer. Let us be aware of God's presence in us, giving the following of the Son of the Holy Spirit. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
give us this day our
This is
liberty and
the
forgive us our
Forgive
trespasses,
us our sins.
as we forgive those who trespass
we forgive
against
those
us. And lead
trespass
us
against
from
us.
temptation, deliver us from evil. Amen.
Nation, whatever as from
Glory to
evil.
the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit.
As it was the beginnings, never now shall
To
be
us
without it.
beginning is
Amen.
now be forever. Amen.
So good morning, everyone. Good morning, Miss Rina. Praise be Jesus and Mary. So we are the second presenter, and the topic that was given to us is that Rizal higher education and life abroad. So there are two topics here in our title. First is we will tackle the Rizal higher education.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning, ma'am. So I will be the one to explain first. Rizal, life and studies in Ateneo in 1872 to 1877. Ateneo the municipal established by Jesuits. He belongs to the class composed of Spaniards, mestizos, and Filipinos. By the end of the month, he became the emperor and received a prize, a religious picture. To improve his Spanish, Rizal took private lessons in Santa Isabel College. During his fourth year in Ateneo, he received 5 medals and graduated as sobresaliente. He graduated on March 23, 1877 and received the degree of Bachelor of Arts. So Rizal took Santa Isabel College to become well as Spanish, and his during 14 Ateneo received 5 medals and graduated. And that's all, ma'am. Thank you.
So after he graduated his degree of Bachelor of Arts in Ateneo, later on he studied medical in University of Santo Tomas in the year 1877 to 1882. He finished a year in philosophy and letters. University of Santo Tomas was under Dominicans, rival of the Jesuits in education. So these Dominicans are the preachers, which means that they spread the gospel through words and actions. So during his first term in 1877 to 1878 in University of Santo Tomas, he studied cosmology, metaphysics, theodicy, and history of philosophy. So this cosmology studies about the origin or the evolution of the universe. And this metaphysics studies or examines about the fundamental nature of reality, which includes the relationship between matter and mind. So this theodicy, theo means the Greek word of God. So this studies God. And history of philosophy, we all know that philosophy is about the study or examines about the nature or the fundamental nature of knowledge and existence. And um, so after in his pre-med course in UST, out of 28 young men taking application, only 4, including Rizal, were granted the privilege of taking simultaneously the preparatory course and the first year of medicine. During his last year at the university, Rizal had obtained the global grade of notable or very good in all of his subjects. So this just means that Rizal do have really a high intelligence and surpasses the average grade of the school.
Academic journey to Spain. In the year of 1882 and 1885, his departure to Spain was kept secret from Spanish authorities, friars, and even his parents, especially his mother, Doña Teodora, because she would not allow him to go. The only person know his departure was his brother Pasiano and his uncle or Tio Antonio Rivera. He used the name Jose Mercado. It is because to avoid detections from authorities and some speculations according to some uh, accounts. He enrolled in Universidad Central de Madrid taking up two courses, philosophy and letters and medicine. Jose Rizal finished his studies in philosophy and letters with higher grades. He was awarded the degree of licentiate in philosophy and letters in the Universidad Central de Madrid on June 19, 1885 with the ratings of excellence. So the following academic year, she studied and passed all the subjects leading to the degree of doctor in medicine. But unfortunately, she was not able to submit the thesis required for graduates, nor paid their corresponding fees. So with that, uh, he was not able or he was not awarded his doctors in diploma. That's all.
So now let's move to the Rizal's life in abroad. After finishing the fourth year of Rizal's medical course in UST, his father and brother decided to send him abroad and to finish his medicine in Madrid, Spain. He was given a mission to observe culture, language, customs, and industry of Spain and other places. On May 1882, he pursued his further studies in abroad. He enrolled in course in medicine at the Universidad Central de Madrid in Spain. So the first stop of Rizal was the Spain, where he continued to study the medicine. Next is in Singapore. The first stop over of Rizal before he had on his way to Spain, which he spent for sightseeing.
So in June 1883, he traveled to France to observe how medicine was being practiced there. So after he visit Singapore, he moved to France to observe how medicine was being practiced there.
So in Spain, he arrived in Barcelona. He met some Filipinos and was able to make his first nationalistic essay, The Amor Patrio, under his pen named Laong Laan, which was published in Diaryong Tagalog. He left Barcelona to go to Madrid to pursue his medical studies in Universidad Central de Madrid in November 3, 1882. He also took courses in philosophy and letters and took French, German, and English lessons from private tutors. So Rizal is likely to know different languages like French, German, and English.
So in March 1887, Rizal returned to Madrid and thought about publishing a book that exposed the colonial relationship of Spain and the Philippines. So in that, so in this year, on that year, 1887, on March, Rizal returned to Madrid, and and then he realized that he will publish a book that will expose the colonial relationship of the Philippines, of the Spain and the Philippines. So remember in the 19th century when the Spaniards colonizes the Philippines. So that year, 1887, he decided to expose the colonial relationship of Spain and the Philippines.
The Colombo, Sri Lanka. It was Rizal's journey to Colombo, Sri Lanka, that was important for him to improve his knowledge of French language while on board a French ship, Jenna. So, si Rizal go to Sri Lanka to enhance his knowledge about the French language.
Rizal was actively involved in the propaganda movement composed of Filipinos in Spain who sought to direct the attention of Spaniards to the concerns of the Spanish colony in the Philippines. He also wrote an article for publication in Manila and abroad, convened, convened with overseas Filipinos to
Hmm?
discuss their duties to the country and called on Spanish
Try
authorities
ipalit.
to institute reforms in the Philippines, such as granting freedom of the press and Filipino presentation in the Spanish crisis. So I've read one of the articles in Google that Rizal, one of the major purpose of Rizal why he traveled along the country is to set the Philippines free from the colonization of the Spaniards. So yeah,
In Germany, in Heidelberg, Rizal wrote poem Alas Flores de Heidelberg in April 22, 1886, and spent 3 months vacation in Montinos village. In Leipzig, he translated scholar William from German into Tagalog. In Berlin, he met Dr. Fyodor and continued his study to gain further knowledge of ophthalmology. In 1887, Noli Me Tangere was published in Berlin. He also experienced his darkness, misery in Berlin. He has no money and forced to pawn his sister's wedding ring. So Rizal need to study ophthalmology because he wants to help her mother to cure the sickness in eyes.
so from Hong Kong, I mean, before I'm going to tackle about the travel of Rizal in Hong Kong. Um, I would like to add, Rizal returned to Manila in August 1887 after 5 years in Europe. However, his homecoming was met by the friars' furor over Noli Me Tangere. The Archbishop of Manila issued an order banning the possession and reading of the novel. So after after Rizal traveled in other country, he came back to the Philippines, in Manila specifically. Um, he was going to publish the book. I mean, Nolan ni Tangere, but then the Archbishop was was planning to ban the book. So from Hong Kong, Rizal traveled to Macau and Japan before going to America, entering San Francisco, California in April 1888. He visited the states of Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Nebraska, Illinois, and New York. In August, he was admitted to the British Museum, where he copied Antonio de Morga's massive study of the Philippines, Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas, which Rizal later annotated for publication as a gift for the Filipinos. In the
Yung kamot
museum,
rin.
he devoted his time reading all the sources on the Philippine history that he could find. He kept up his correspondence with various people, including his family, who were being oppressed by the Spaniards' religious land landowners. the Filipino patriot in, in Spain, and his Austrian friend Ferdinand Blumentritt, with whom he planned to form an association of the Philippine scholars. So from 1888 to 1890, he shuttled between London and Paris, where he wrote ethnographic and history-related studies, as well as political articles. He also frequently visited Spain, where he met with fellow Filipinos intellectuals like Marcelo H. del Pilar, Mariano Ponce, and Graciano Lopez Hina. So that's it for our reporting for today. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much for attending the class, and thank you, Mom, for giving opportunity to report to the class. Thank you.